Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. In what can be described as a massive and depressing U-turn for people from the Ukraine, Humza Yousaf has decided to pull the funding for all the assistance they got. This was a massive policy of virtue signalling by Nicola Sturgeon. At the beginning of the war, she invited over Ukrainians to come, be safe, be settled, and find support and care in Scotland. And she promised that a fund of £10 million a year would be set up to help settle them here. And now Humza Yousaf has pulled the funding because I suppose for him they're the wrong sort of immigrants, what with them being, European and white. And so he has done this massive U-turn. He's had the photo ops, he's had all the publicity, and now he's quietly dropping the scheme. Probably to save money, but more likely because he just objects to helping white people. We know he hates white people. He makes that abundantly clear. But we'll take a look at this to see why he is being so hypocritical and shady about it, and how this will affect people who have come here from a war-torn European country in the hope of being safe. So, shameless SNP acts funding for Ukrainian refugees after getting their press release and photo call. It's all the, look at me, look how virtuous I am, look at the good I'm doing. Okay, the camera's turned off. Yeah, okay, let's drop it then. Don't care anymore. I've had my photo op, and it's all bullshit. It's all manoeuvres. It's all, look, let's try and make ourselves look better than we actually are. That's all it is. Humza Yousaf promised people fleeing war in the Ukraine that the Scottish Government will do everything we can to support you. But he has now scrapped a £10 million funding to help councils resettle them. Because, and quite literally, I think, because they're the wrong colour. He doesn't like white people. We know this. He said this himself. He moans about too many white people in Scotland, a country with 98% white people. There's a reason people don't want to go to Scotland, and he's one of the reasons, of course. The SNP have been accused of acting shamelessly after axing £10 million of funding to help resettle Ukrainian refugees in Scotland. And to be honest, there aren't that many of them. It's a percentage of who's come to the whole of the UK. And so, any help they could get would be, useful. These people are genuine refugees. You've got to be saying, they're not the sort of refugees you get that have come through 7 safe countries just to get to Britain, as it were. Anyway, it was described as a betrayal by rivals who said that the Scottish Government gave up caring after it's had its photo call and press release. And it was revealed that the Nationalist administration is refusing to match the £10 million they initially handed to councils to help desperate families who fled Vladimir Putin's invasion. And it has led to concerns that local authorities will be forced to pull staff out of hotels used by Ukrainians. And it is... How can we put this? Well, it is a betrayal. It's weakness. It goes to show his bigotry, and it doesn't make the SNP look any good at all, especially not in the international eyes. People look to the way that countries treat refugees and things. He's always going on about, we must do more, we must do... all the usual plaudits that they say, but they are just words. They're not backed up by any actions or money. But he wants to look as though he cares without actually caring. But then he's like so many in the SNP. Completely soulless, isn't he? Anyway, Nicola Sturgeon launched her much-lauded super sponsor scheme back in 2022 after Russia invaded its neighbour, and with this allowing displaced people to receive a visa and travel to Scotland. It proved so popular that she was forced to shut it months later due to oversubscription. Now, I will say that there is a reason why so many people from the Ukraine thought Scotland would be good. And that's, as I've mentioned before, it's 98% white. You can draw from that conclusion what you will. But, you go to Ukraine. And Ukraine, I think, is something like 99.5% white. It is, a very white country. Humza would hate it. Minister said in November there had been 17,000 arrivals from this route alone, with many put up in hotels and cruise ships. Councils have been involved in providing a warm Scots welcome, with the government handing them $10 million last year to meet additional costs with short-term accommodation. It's funny that they're doing their best to close all the short-term accommodation now, aren't they? Why is that? These two things linked. Strange thing though, they can't house their own people, but they've got all this money for foreigners. Now I'm not having a go at the Ukrainians, and we know they genuinely are proper asylum seekers. They're seeking safety from war. And the other thing, and of course Gobshite here didn't even pick up on it, is when he said, "Where are all the men?" The difference is, in the Ukraine, it was the women and children who got out and the men stayed to fight. With people from his gang, it's the men who come here, leaving the women at home. Men of fighting age. He doesn't ask them where the men are, do they? They're standing in front of him. But the Ukrainians, where are all the men? Fighting for their country. Not something he'd do. He comes from a race that's very, what's the word? Cowardly, craven. Anyway, in August, Humza Yousaf promised to keep up this support. And lied then. Only back 5 months ago, caught lying. He said, "We will do everything we can to support you so you have a home in Scotland for as long as you need it, and we are grateful for the contribution you're making to communities across the country." I've worked with some Ukrainians. They're actually okay, you know. Accent's a bit hard. You could easily mistake them for Russians from the accent. But yeah, no, they were fine. You know, a couple of there. Bulgarians. They're funny people. Who else have I worked with? Oh, all the Baltic lot are lovely. I like the Balts. Lithuanian girls, very attractive, let me tell you. But yeah, Poles, Hungarians, you know, they're just people. They're just people. But for Humza Yousaf, they're the wrong sort of people, aren't they? They're white Europeans. He really doesn't like them. And of course, that's the main reason he's stopping this. Doesn't want any more white Europeans coming in. Oh no, he says, if we're going to have our fill of immigrants, can we have the other kind? He's just blatant racism, isn't it? Anyway, he says it's vital that countries across Europe and around the world help to achieve victory. And then to rebuild your country, Scotland will continue to stand with Ukraine until the money runs out and I can stop paying because, you know, don't like you really. Not his words, but they're what he means. The Daily Record reports that in October, Council Umbrella Group COSLA raised concerns about the funding not being available this year and said that local authorities would have to cut services to continue to help Ukrainian refugees, and some might cease support in hotels. In response, Social Justice Cabinet Secretary Shirley-Ann Somerville responded by saying that she would not continue with the eligible cost funding previously provided. She wrote that the government's budget remained extremely challenging and difficult decisions had to be made. Yes, we don't want to help people, can't afford to help people, but we are increasing the money we're giving to independence causes and our foreign embassies. But helping people? Oh no, that's right out of the window. Because they're soulless, inhuman sociopaths. You know, and it's just what they do. It's just who they are, isn't it? And there's Alex Cole Hamilton. Still always think he looks like he ought to be commenting on a golf match, you know. Anyway, Scott Lib Dem leader Alex Cole Hamilton added, "It seems like the SNP, ANP? God help us. Anyway, the SNP got their press release and photo call to now they don't care about Ukrainian refugees anymore. While we're all hoping for a Ukrainian victory, it's clear the war could drag on for some years to come. It'll drag on until Putin dies, basically." While many Ukrainians have successfully secured private accommodation, funding for councils will still need to continue in order to provide support services and to help those who are unable to secure other places to stay. This is another example of Scottish Government ministers shamelessly trying to pass the buck to someone else. Oh yes, it's everyone else's fault. I'm surprised it hasn't turned out to be Westminster's fault. That'll be the next thing. But look, there he is. Look at me, everybody. Look at me. I'm standing by a Ukrainian lady. She's horribly white and I'm eating her bread. But hey, I've got my photo opportunity and it makes it look like I'm a caring human being. And then he turns around, cuts the funding. Surprised he didn't slit her throat. He's that kind, isn't he? What a prick. Coming up. Not a good way to start a Saturday, but, you know, it's just, they're shameful. It's shameful behaviour. Coming up. Now, of course, you cannot have limitless, unending immigration. But the difference with the Ukrainians is, first of all, it is genuine asylum. They're fighting a war in Europe. Secondly, of course, it's predominantly women and children being sent over. The men are staying and fighting. And that, of course, is very, very telling. It's not like the other kind of immigrants that we're used to seeing coming in off boats. immigrants that have travelled through many, many safe countries, and then who say, oh, we want asylum. Well, get your asylum in France. You were in France. France is a safe country. Yes, but France don't want us. Well, we don't want you either. You know, let's just throw them all out. I close the borders. Just absolutely close the borders. But the difference here, of course, is for Humza Yousaf, the problem he's got is white European immigrants are supping up all the immigration money. And he really, really doesn't like it. He's absolutely anti-white, bigoted, racist, Marxist fuckwit, to be honest. Anyway, I shall stop there because I don't want to get upset about him. I refuse to let this tosser spoil my Saturday. So we'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and have a great day. Speak to you later. Bye.